Well, it's been quite a bad weekend for VAR, let's just say that. A number of decisions not going very right for them, I suppose.
Audio Jungle.
Stockley Park or something like that, I don't know where it is. But yeah, firstly, let's go on to the first incident, and it was the Lucas Moura handball, you could say, against Sheffield United. Alex, what are your thoughts on this one?
So yeah, obviously, after it happened, we were doing the stream, and there was a couple of angry, should we say, Tottenham fans in the comments. And yeah, obviously, if it wasn't for that controversy, probably Tottenham could have probably even won that game against Sheffield United, but it did go completely the other way. But yeah, I just can't see why it was disallowed. Obviously, Lucas Moura was pushed to the floor quite violently by about 3 Sheffield United players. And then as he was pushed over, the ball did happen to skim his hand and went on its way to Harry Kane, who finished it delightfully past Henderson. But yeah, he didn't touch it on purpose. He had no idea that it did hit his hand, and he didn't go down on purpose either. So why has it been disallowed? It hit his hand. It even skimmed his hand. It didn't really.
It didn't affect play at all.
No, it's stupid.
What did you think then, Joe?
Well, it barely touched his hand. It just basically rolled over his hand. It didn't affect play. The ball was still going to go to Kane. He wasn't doing that deliberately. He was shoved so that he couldn't have done anything. It should have been advantage to Tottenham. They should ignore the handball because it wouldn't be immediately obvious it was a handball. And they should go to the first offence anyway. And then the goal should be allowed, surely.
I can't remember if they pulled it back for a free kick or not, because I remember thinking they might not have, but they might have.
I'm not too sure.
Because I think they just disallowed the goal, and then it was something like a drop ball, which even if they disallowed the goal, surely they should have been given the free kick in that position, which is a scoring chance, because it was an obvious foul. And I don't see why you're going to disallow the goal just because of a non-intentional handball and then not give an advantage to Tottenham. That is stupid.
Especially a non-intentional handball that doesn't affect play. I can get if it's bounced off the ground and hit his hand and bounced in another direction. But it hasn't, it's rolled over his hand and it hasn't changed the course of play at all. Tottenham would have scored if it had hit his hand or if it hadn't.
Yeah, where do you expect him to put his hands behind his back when he's fallen over and just face planted to the floor?
Yeah, just break his
He's
face.
protecting himself, if anything.
But yeah, we'll leave that one. But we've got another one to come, and it's me and Alex were watching this game, and it was the Soucek one. And personally, I don't see anything wrong with this. I think it's because... Oh, wait, let me see what they've said. So VAR has ruled this out for West Ham's opener because Antonio adjudged himself interfaced while the player was offside position or something like that. Antonio
has been said to have interfered with the play whilst in an offside position.
So he's offside, Antonio, there's no doubt about it, but he's not got the ball. Kepa's looking at Soucek, and he can probably see the ball. So I don't see anything wrong with that, to be honest.
Well, in what way is he interfering with play? From the photo, I can't see any possible way he could be interfering with play. There's a player jumping in the air, not touching him. There's no way he's interfering with play. He's actually making it harder to score the goal.
Yeah, I think it might have came off Aspilicueta, but I don't think it came off Antonio.
No, it didn't touch Antonio.
No. But yeah.
And I don't see why they've disallowed it, because he's not interfering with the goalkeeper's view any sort of way, because he's on the floor, so the goalkeeper can see the ball fully. He's not stopping Aspilicueta from tackling Soucek, and if anything, Aspilicueta's touched the ball, which should mean that Antonio's not offside. Even if it does hit him, so I just can't see why that's not allowed. But thankfully enough, West Ham did go on and win that game. So
yeah, there was another one as well, and I don't know if anybody saw it, but it was a United game yesterday against Bournemouth, and Eric Bailly's gone up for a
Oh
header,
yeah, yeah.
and it's hit him on the shoulder, like about here, and
With
they've gave it.
Matic's back pass.
Yeah, that was terrible. We played awful in that first 5 minutes of the second half, but yeah, it's come up to Bailly. His hand is in the box, but he's outside the box and he's jumped up for it. So his hand's in the box while he's up in the air outside of the box, if you get what I mean. So his hand's in the box and he's not in the box with his legs. I don't see how that is a penalty, to be honest, because I know they're on about changing this rule about the handball, about being the whole arm, but it hit him on the shoulder here, so I don't see how that's a handball. You saw it, Alex, didn't you?
Yeah, I was watching it and I was like, yeah, it's a poor pass from Matic, and yeah, it's probably a corner, but I had no idea they was going to give a penalty. It definitely touched his shoulder. It didn't touch his arm, and yeah, his body was not in the box, and surely, if his arm's in the box, and it hit his arm, I can understand why they might give a penalty. But one, it didn't touch his arm, and two, he wasn't in the box. So, I don't know why they gave that a penalty.
Yeah, it is a bit stupid.
It's just frustrating. They need to become more consistent with their decisions. And there's one against. I know when we won the penalty, there was a lot of Leicester fans, like saying that Calvert-Lewin fouled. He's a centre back guy from Turkey.
Soyuncu.
Oh yeah, he fouled him, and then because. Well, I didn't see that he fouled him, but some of the Leicester fans were saying he fouled him, and then obviously Ndidi did handball it, obviously. But yeah, it's just they're lacking consistency. Like if that was a penalty for United, then it was definitely a penalty for Everton. But if it wasn't a goal for West Ham, then it probably shouldn't have been a penalty for Everton. It's just
bearing in mind these decisions do take long to do, as we know. And these took even longer, some of them. But I think it was like 3 goals in a row for United. Each one was reviewed for offside, and it at least took 2 minutes.
Why? It's just disrupting play at that point.
Yeah.
It's interrupting the flow of the game and the fan experience.
Yeah.
It should only be reviewed for something that could obviously interfere with play.
Yeah, when they first brought it out, they said they were only going to use it if the referee or the linesman makes a clear and obvious mistake. I'm pretty sure every goal that's been disallowed by VAR is not being a clear and obvious mistake. And the only way we could have seen if it was offside is that if they took it back in Match of the Day and looked at it as close as possible. They shouldn't make a decision in the 2 minutes that they have disrupting the play, whether it should be offside or not. If it's not clear and obvious, why disallow it? It's just taking all the factors of luck away from the game, and I feel like it's going to affect everything in the long run.
So if you were the Premier League commissioner or like CEO, whatever you want to call it, next season, would you be VAR in or out? So would you want it or not? Joe, what do you think? We'll go to you first.
I think it's a good idea. It's a good addition to the game if it was used correctly. I think there needs to be a set rule about how they use it. Because right now, in my opinion, they are using it too often for the wrong things. So they review it in the wrong places. And it should, like Alex said, be only used if a referee makes a clear and obvious mistake, or if they actually find something wrong with it.
Yeah, and I think the referee should be able to choose if VAR is used or not. Because say if he doesn't know what decision to make, surely VAR can then come into action and make the decision for him. But if he thinks the decision, like say if he thought they weren't offside, then surely they shouldn't go into VAR because ultimately the referee has the final decision. Like if he wants to say no, VAR, we're not taking that decision, then he can ultimately say it. But they were speaking about it earlier on in the season on Match of the Day. The referees are scared to say, look, I don't want you to make this decision for me. I believe that it's correct, because it's just slowing down the football and it's making it less exciting.
Well, if you look at it how rugby have done it with TMO, rugby, the referee reviews it when they want to review it, and that tends to be if there's a controversial try or tackle. They have the option to make the choice how they want, and it's played up on the board for all the fans of the stadium to see. And with the fan response, you can say if the referee is making the right or the wrong decision. So, with the Antonio interfering, and with Harry Kane's goal chalked off, you would tell by the fans. Obviously, they're not there at the moment. You would tell by the fans' reaction. The referee could review that if he thought there was something wrong, which he couldn't have seen something so small as these tiny. They're not even mistakes, just tiny parts of the game. There wouldn't be any issue with it.
Yeah.
I think they've done it completely wrong, and they need to take a school trip down to Aviva headquarters or the Gallagher Cup or whatever. Have a look at TMO.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there, Joe, as well, and you, Alex. And I think the thing is with rugby, there's only one thing, but like if it's a try, people are like going to go, hey. But in football, you can't really go, yeah, when the goal's been reviewed. But I suppose.
But you wouldn't be reviewing the goal if it was definitely a goal, and if it hasn't been interfered with.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just slows it down because you score a clear goal. There's nothing wrong with it, and then you just have VAR looking at it for another minute, and it takes all the momentum away that you've gained from scoring that goal, and it's just.
And then there's a player lying on the floor, and they decide to overrule the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, there needs to be big changes made. I think that it needs to be done for all decisions because there's a rule where you can't review VAR for a yellow card, but you can for a red card, which I think is pretty stupid. So I think they should just give full authorities in the whole game book and whatever just to the referees and VAR.
It's the referee's decision at the end of the day. The referee's decision is final. If they make the wrong decision, it's on them.
So are you two VAR out or in?
I'm VAR in, but they need to change how they work it. What about you, Alex?
If they made it clear how they were going to change it, I would be VAR in, but at the moment, I'm probably VAR out just because of all the things that have happened, and how it's not being used correctly.
I think I do see both sides to it, but I think I'm gonna have to go VAR out at the moment because it's just that it ruins like you two have said, it ruins the whole game atmosphere if you've scored a goal and then you're waiting for about 5 minutes to get a result if it's a goal or not.
Like you lose that, like, because if Aguero's like do you know when Aguero scored that last minute goal?
VAR.
Like if they reviewed that for like another 5 minutes, I'm pretty sure the whole moment will have disappeared by then. Like no one can be bothered waiting that long just to see a decision go either your way or not your way. So it's just ruining football as a game at the moment unless they can do something to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can't even argue with you there. I think it'd be so much better if it's the ref's decision whether or not to use it.
Yeah, and it's like all these years it's been built up on referees' line of sight and the linesman, and now that be like stripped from them all of a sudden, and somebody in their ear telling them, I don't know, 300 miles away, saying you should be doing this, and then it's just wasting time. It just ruins the game, I think.
Yeah, 300 yards, like. They won't even be they're not even in the same building, are they? They're in their ear telling them, someone might be interrupting play for an offside position. Please review this. What?
Yeah.
It should be the referee's decision from the area.
Yeah. But then I can see, like, if, say, like that incident that happened in USA and England in the 2010 World Cup when Frank Lampard hit that shot and it hit the crossbar and it was clearly over the line, but there was no VAR. So it got ruled no, and then England were out of the World Cup. So I can see it for them moments, but
but there's plenty of decisions that have gone our way as well that would have been ruled out by VAR. So, but it just takes the look factor out of football, and ultimately that also takes some of the fun out of it as well. So I guess that's why some of the lower leagues turn out to be more enjoyable games at the moment. So.
Yeah. So yeah, those are our thoughts on VAR.
Please leave your thoughts in the comments as well.
Yeah. If you've been living under a rock, you might not know this, but Wigan Athletic have gone into administration And we've seen this before with Bolton getting deducted 12 points last season. It looks like it might happen to... who was it? Oh, I forgot who it was. It was somebody. They got deducted 8 points. I think it was in League One. But I think... who was it, Alex? Was it? Do you know?
They were climbing a table and they finished mid-table and it was a bit meh. But
Oh, my God.
1 second.
Oh, I can't...
You just keep talking, I'll find out.
Yeah, so Alex will find out for us. But yeah, it's happened to a number of clubs. Bury was another club that didn't even start the season because of what happened to them. And I think something needs to happen. But yeah, we'll get your guys' thoughts first. Joe, what do you think?
I don't think any of the lower teams, any of the smaller teams. I know Wigan's a big club, but I don't think any of the lower league teams are being supported as much as they should be by the FA.
Yeah.
They're not doing enough to support the lower clubs. And yet, we talked about it with, I can't remember who said it, but we had someone on the show saying how a manager was given however many million as basically a send-off by every single team in the Premiership. I think if they can afford that money, surely there should be like a tax on the first, on the Premiership, the Championship, maybe even League One. I'm not certain, but there should be a tax, and they should pay that money into the lower clubs, just as a bit of extra support from football to keep these teams afloat. Because at the moment, with football in the state that it's in at the moment, with no fans in the stadiums, smaller teams are dropping like flies, and it's just not nice to see. Lower league football is insanely good to watch. It's so fun to go see. Tickets are cheap, and it's a all-round good experience for everyone. But again, without the smaller clubs, there can't be any upper league football because there won't be teams coming up.
Yeah. So yeah, it's about getting the balance, I suppose. Alex, did you finally find out?
I've not found the one I think you were talking about, but I know Birmingham were deducted 9 points last season.
Oh, I think of that one.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, that was quite controversial as well.
Oh
So,
shit.
yeah, Alex, what are your thoughts on it? Wigan and the whole of how the EFL's been running at the moment.
I feel like I definitely felt sorry for the teams that were like going bankrupt before all this coronavirus cases and stuff, but for Wigan to go basically nearly broke in the time that we're having right now, I think the FA should definitely be doing more for lower clubs, especially at this point. They're having to sack all of their staff just so they can afford to pay for their stadium and stuff like that. And definitely in this time, especially even with no football, so you're getting no money from televisation and stuff like that. So yeah, there's just not much income that teams can get at these situations, and I feel like if the FA were going to do anything for smaller clubs, now would be the time, and I don't think they're doing enough at this point. So yeah, I definitely feel very sorry for teams like Wigan. Obviously, we have a few players out on loan at them as well, so I don't know what's going to happen there.
Yeah, it's like you said, Alex, it's really sad for those clubs, but it's like Bolton were 12 points deducted before the season even started. So that's basically saying you're getting relegated anyway, because all your players are going to go because they're not getting paid, and you're going to play with the youth squad. So for the first half of the season up until January, before they got signings and then loans, they knew they were getting relegated, and they were on negative points.
And who wants to go to a football club that are on negative points? During the mid half of the season, they're just giving them nothing.
Yeah, the loyal fans will go, but you won't get like your day trippers going there or anything like that. And then you could also say there needs to be something put in from the FA or the EFL to say, let's see your receipts and whatnot, to see if you are you can manage a football club and you can take them over and run a football club, rather than just showing them a piece of letter and saying, oh yeah, you're fit for the job, and then go through that stage. And then this is a recurring theme with other clubs like it is with Bolton, Bury, now Wigan. And yeah, I think just something needs to be put in place.
Well, I don't think with the teams going bust right now or going into administration right now during this completely unprecedented time, it should be more about supporting clubs than for checking out whether or not they can support a football club. Because, like, Virgin Travel, Virgin Airlines, they're probably going bust. I'm not sure if they already have. There's huge corporations that are filing for bankruptcy. At this time, you can't check if they can support a club because it's completely unprecedented. I do agree that there should be more checks in place because we have to buy a house. You have to have a good credit score. To get a loan on a car, good credit score. For a football club, there should be at least some requirement instead of just having the money to buy them outright. Because if you're not
I
having,
think that's what happened with Leyton Orient as well when they got their owner in when they were in League One, and obviously they went on the massive decline because he had money, but he'd never ran a football club before, and yeah, that just run them into the ground. So
yeah, I think people say the big clubs need to do things, and I've seen a United fan this weekend about Bury saying, "Oh yeah, United should have given Bury some money to support them, so they could have actually stayed as a football club."
Yeah.
But he said nobody likes us anyway, and they never have, and they probably never will because of all the rivalry. So why should we do anything for them? But I think that's a bit. I don't know. I think you should always help out clubs lower league tier.
a local team they should be supporting definitely.
Our chairman tried to make a £1 million donation to Bury, and then the FA rejected it for some reason, and then they just ultimately.
So the FA
that
didn't
happened.
really want Bury to be a football club anymore, basically, because
No,
that
they-
saved them.
Yeah, he just made a charitable donation, just straight to the football club, and they just rejected it because it had to go through the FA because it's from one football club to the other in the English Football League. So it went through the FA and they just rejected it. So that it's clear that all they think about is money and they don't care about clubs' well-being and all of that. So I don't know what's going to happen. They need to change it soon though.
So yeah, that's our thoughts on the administration and where things should be put in place. Yeah, also make sure to leave your comments, and if you are a Bolton fan or anybody like that, make sure we could get you on and see how you're coping at the moment with everything going wrong virtually. But yeah, that's our thoughts.